All right, so today we're going to be looking doing a first look at the ships entering testing into the 15.8 patch. So all the ships that we showcased today are currently in testing, so their stats are subject to change. The New Jersey, the Vanadis line, as you can see here, the new European cruiser lines going to be entering testing, as well as the Orzeł, the Polish submarine, and the Aragón is also entering testing as well. So we're going to be looking at these ships today, as well as taking a look at the Tréville, which we already covered in a previous video, but we're going to be looking at as well. So let's get started on this first look. As you can see here is the New Jersey, highly anticipated ship has entered testing. This ship has a few special features on it compared to its sister ships, the Wisconsin and the Iowa. This ship has support consumables as well as its combat instruction. The picture is not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be something else. But essentially what this ship has is that its main battery AP shell damage is plus 33%, and its maximum main battery shell dispersion is more accurate by 35%, and this lasts for 50 seconds. So essentially its F key is making its AP super AP, which makes it even better. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but let's go over some of the stats. For the armor, 32 millimeters armor, bow and aft. We'll take a look at the ship itself. So this is the New Jersey. Very nice, very nice. Very nice. Very nice, very nice. Looks very good indeed. So that is the New Jersey. The hull is essentially the same just as the Iowa, so 32 bow, aft, 38 millimeter deck. Citadel is exactly the same as well, so nothing's different. Survivability is going to be 81,100, 25% torpedo protection. For the guns, you get 9 46 millimeter guns, the 25-second reload. Secondaries are not worth running home about, and the range is 23.4 kilometers. For the HE, it is 5,700 damage, and for the AP, when you build into the heavy AP, the damage goes to 14,513 damage is the AP. Now, the reason why I did that is because we were talking about the F key gimmick earlier, where when you reinforce an allied with a consumable, it gives you 50% proc, and if you reinforce yourself, it gives you 25%. So essentially, when you have this F key active, it increases your shell damage for your AP by 33%. And when you tie that with having the skill, the super heavy AP shells, it gives you roughly around 19,500-ish AP shell damage. It's one of the top AP shell damages in the game. The Satsuma and the comparable are higher, around 20,800, 900-ish. But this is one of the heaviest, sorry, not the heaviest salvos, but the heaviest per shell AP in the game. Very hard-hitting AP shells. So this thing is going to be able to pack a punch with that. And we'll talk about the consumables in a moment, but let's keep going down the stats. For the airstrikes, has 11 kilometer range, which is normal for a battleship. Anti-air is going to be normal for American battleship. Flak is going to be normal. Range is 5.8, which is normal. Ship speed is 35.2 knots. That's pretty good for an American tier 10. 920 meter turning radius is also good for the tier, and 17.2 rudder shift. It's American for the tier. So, and concealment is 15.9, which is also American for the tier. So it's all average for those. Now, moving on from there, let's talk about the consumables. For the heal, it's going to be an American heal, so 535, which is a pretty nice heal. Moving on from there is the consumables. So for the first one, it's going to be the gun crew assistance. This is the first this consumable they've been currently testing on the test bed. What ship was it? It was the Pan American one. They were using it as a test bed. This makes it where if you drop this onto an ally, it gives them 12% faster reloading speed. If you drop it on yourself, I believe you only get half. It should only give you half. If you drop several consumables on the same ship and their modifiers coincide by type but differ by value, only the higher values are applied. So using a consumable with identical modifiers and values on the same ship resets the consumable action timer. So say you drop this on a ship and then another ally drops the same one. it will essentially reset it to the max timer of it doesn't stack. So you can't stack 2 of these to get 60. It'll only do 30 max, right? So that's how it'll work. So moving on from the gun crew assistance, you have the auxiliary torpedo armament assistance. This makes it where you have a 12% faster reloading speed for your torpedoes, 15% faster reloading speed for your secondaries, and plus 15% for continuous anti-air damage. So stronger secondary armaments. And all these can be dropped from 15 kilometers away, and these can be shot down, by the way. So they can be. So if someone's in the thick of battle, in the middle of a fight, and you try to drop these on them, they can be shot down. They're not invincible. So don't think that just because you click on the mini map to be able to, like when you click on M key, you drop them through there. Don't just think because you're dropping them, they're going to give them guaranteed. If they're in the thick of battle, like surrounded by enemies, and the enemies are able to shoot down the planes, they don't get the boost. The final one is going to be engineering crew assistance, which heals your allies for 0.33% ship HP for 30 seconds, and it makes it where their preparation time is 15% faster. Essentially allows them to damage control party faster, as well as getting healing during that time period, which is really nice.
It heals basically for 10%. It's a 10% repair party during repair party.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really nice. Being able to heal back that HP and allow them to get their damage control party back is very nice. For this one here, you're able to switch to a spotting aircraft or fighters instead.
Please don't.
Yeah, well, it's up to you. Again, this is still in testing, so all these stats are still up in the air. But I definitely see this ship in its current state being a very competitive ship. The ability to give your allies a heal or faster reloading guns or secondaries or torps is definitely very useful and will give your team an advantage in clan battles and ranked, as well as in randoms. So I definitely see this being utilized by higher skill level players. The F key as well is also, it makes this ship very dangerous as well, because getting that extra 33% damage and that 35% better dispersion makes you such a deadly threat to any cruisers, as well as just slapping battleships with that raw AP. So very dangerous threat from this ship. So at the current state, it definitely looks like it's going to be something people are going to want to get, but we'll have to see how it goes through the testing process. But overall, it looks very formidable in this state. Now, the ship is still squishy. It doesn't have a lot of HP. It doesn't have the best armor, but its raw potential of what it can do or help the team survive or build a win is very high. So it's going to be more like the highest skill level of all three I think we've seen. Because we have the Iowa, we have the Wisconsin, then we have this. So I think this is going to be the highest skill cap. But what do you think, SAT?
So if we break it down by categories, I do agree survivability is going to be a likely weak point of the ship. You could technically use the consumables on yourself, but then you're literally throwing firepower out the window. So for guns, it is a up-tuned Iowa gun, but at the end of the day, you're only stuck with 9 guns. Compared to Montana, you have 33% less firepower per salvo. It can make a difference in some situations where that extra 3 guns could result in another citadel. You do get improved AP at some points, and you get better dispersion whenever combat instructions is active, and you get faster reload to compensate. But overall, Montana guns is a lot more consistent. Well, at least on paper. I don't think they've told us if it's the standard Iowa guns or if it's similar to Wisconsin, where the AP shells are slightly better than normal. That we'll have to find out whenever it hits live testing, and we can take a look at the stats more in detail on ship tools. Airstrike, it's standard, so whatever. A defense, it's a US battleship. It's gonna chew planes up most of the time, so nothing really worth mentioning. Speed, it's an Iowa, so it goes relatively fast. The turning circle, the rudder shift time, it's like okay for a battleship. Nothing great though. Not something I would like just because it is a Iowa, they're pretty long. I don't know what the gun angles are as well, but if it's something similar to Wisconsin, then gun angles along with that maneuverability can be a big problem. Wisconsin guns don't have great angles, so you end up showing a bit more broadside more often, and that in general just leads to more damage being taken.
Yeah, very true. It can be very painful in that way. So if they have like the Iowa gun angles, it'd be really nice, but if they have the Wisconsins, you definitely gotta be a little bit more careful with that.
Okay, the concealment about about 13, right? Can you just double check?
Yeah, so 15.9. I can build partially real quick. 14.3, and you build into it. It goes to 12.9, so about we're at 13. Yep.
Yeah, 13 is fine for a battleship. It's not sneaking around that much, but it's good enough for what it needs to do. Of course, everyone is taking New Jersey for the combat instructions. You only need to use it on 2 different allies for either 2 different allies or 4 times on yourself for the boost in AP. It's very powerful when activated. The problem is you only have 4 charges. Let me see if you can get a few more if you have Superintendent.
I'm looking real quick.
Oh, actually, you don't have Superintendent. My mistake.
No, there is no way to get more, but unless you do you'd have to do the. Oh wait, nope. There is no way to get more. Nope. You can only do the ship consumable modification.
Halsey doesn't have it doesn't give +1 consumables whenever you get the first kill. I don't think he's that kind of commander.
Nope.
Okay, so you are stuck with 332 for consumables. So you only get 8 uses, so you can use the combat instructions up to 4 times, or twice if you use a few of them if you use it all on yourself. But I think most players will just use it all on your allies, because getting 4 uses out of combat instructions, I think is better overall.
Yep. For sure. But yeah, overall though, I think this is definitely going to see some competitive play. Definitely in clan battles and ranked. And randoms would also do well as well there. PvE would also do good as well.
I think you'll see some experimentation, but let me double check the power-ups again. I don't see them as like particularly game-breaking, and New Jersey is nice, but it's not a secondary ship like Libertad or Powerhouse like Colombo, or Old Colombo. So I think it deserves some testing, but I don't anticipate it being very common sight in competitive.
Okay, so let's move on to the next ship we want to talk about, which is going to be the Tréville. We did cover this in the past, but people wanted us to cover it again, so we'll cover it again. So this is the Tréville. This is the secondary brawler French tier 10 cruiser that they are adding in as well. So this is the ship here, as you can see. You can think of it as essentially you have the gimmicks of the Le Havre and the Marseille put together, and this is what Wargaming came up with. For the armor, you have the 25mm bow and aft with the Citadel side of 180, 32 on the side, 38mm deck. And you see the sides here. The Citadel does have a turtle back, as you can see here, with a waterline Citadel. You have to be careful though to still not get Citadel, but it does have a nice little turtle back, as you can see here, which does help protect it. For survivability, it does have a 66,800 HP with a 31% torpedo protection. Is this a Carnot hull, by the way, SAT score? I've been asked this a lot.
I'm pretty sure it is. I can double check.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
As to answer the Carnot hull, I don't think it's directly Carnot hull. It's just very similar to it. Because there's some notable differences, very noticeable differences in the stats alone, but I think it's just a case of like very similar development lines.
Okay, so it has 12 305mm guns with a 27-second reload with 20 secondaries. Oh, thanks for the raid, gang. Appreciate you. But yeah, so the secondary range goes out to, the base range is 8.3, and when you build out to it should go about to 12.5 is what it should be. But 12.5 or 12? Well, I'll just double check real quick. I'm just gonna do like some random build on it so I can see. The secondary range goes out to 12.5 for the secondaries. Nice. The gun range is 20.1 kilometers. AP shells are 8,700 with the HEs being 4250 with a 51mm pen for the HE shells. Now for the secondaries, they have a 21mm pen with a 3.8 second reload. But this ship has a very interesting gimmick with the heavy secondary barrage for the combat instruction, where it does 8% per shell hit onto the enemy ship. It gets 8% for the charge. It gets a 70% faster reload for the secondaries, 60% better dispersion for the secondaries, and plus 60% for the HE shell pin for the secondaries as well. This lasts 60 seconds. So it turns these secondaries into legit machine guns that can just pen everything. Now, when you have it with no IFHE, the 21mm can pen over 32, when it's with the 60, but if you do IFHE, it goes up to over 38 millimeters. So there's two thresholds that you're potentially able to build into as well, which can be pretty juicy.
The problem is it's a cruiser, so the IFHE is a lot more expensive to take compared to a battleship.
Yep. All right, so moving on from there, let's talk about the torpedoes. So it gets one rack per side with 9-kilometer distance for the torpedoes, and they do 17,000 damage with a 63 knot speed. So the torpedoes are good for drive-bys, but for anything else, not really.
Yeah, you are not going to get much use out of it. It's just too short-ranged. Even like 9 kilometers is extra in this case.
Yeah, so the airstrikes for the depth charges are 8 kilometers, which is normal range for a tier 10 cruiser. Anti-air is normal for the French, so nothing really to write home about. Maneuverability is 34.5 knots, with the 870 meter turning radius and a 14.4 second rudder shift is pretty nice for a tier 10 heavy cruiser of this size. The turning radius is pretty nice, and the rudder shift is good for how big it is. So I like that overall. The concealment goes down to roughly 11.5, 11.6. Okay, 11.6. When it's fully built, which is very strong concealment for a secondary brawler like this ship is. With having a secondary range of 12.5 and a concealment 11.6 in this state, it's going to be pretty formidable. But yeah, essentially having a Le Havre gimmick tied with the Marseille gimmick is what Wargame is coming up with this cruiser. We'll definitely see. I'd have to see how it would do it in competitive as well. You are able to do Hydro 5 kilometers or the auxiliary torpedo weaponry coordination, which gives faster reload for the SW, faster reload for the torpedoes, and extra damage for the secondaries, and faster concentrated anti-air fire progress per second.
In the current configuration, Tréville can actually hit 43 knots with speed boost outnumbered and a speed flag. It's the same speed as Condé.
Oh wow, that is actually pretty fast. That is pretty good. But yeah, overall, I think this could see some testing in competitive scenes, since you do see some competitive scene where they try to use the Marseille. So I could see this potentially seeing some use, as well as use in ranked and randoms. It could also be a fun ship to play in PvE modes in the current configuration. But again, these ships are all subject to change since the stats are not finalized.
It's fairly tanky for a large cruiser. You're still going to lose a lot of HP once you get into brawling range, just due to the nature of brawls. You get improved heal to kind of compensate, but still kind of expect to come out not looking so good after each fight. The biggest advantage Latouche has over other secondary ships is her speed. So Napoli is kind of like the defensive-oriented brawling cruiser with smoke and pretty good armor. Prince Albert is just straight up firepower, and then Latouche is the speed one. So I think Albert will still beat it in firepower. Napoli will of course outlast it, but Latouche can get into position much faster. And the guns, of course, do not take him lightly. The thing is, with Latouche, you do have to build up your combat instructions to get the most out of your secondaries. But once you do get them going, oh yeah, they hurt quite a bit.
Yep, so moving from there, we've already gone over the Spizia in a previous video, so we're going to be focusing on the new submarine, the Orzeł, or Orzeł, however you want to say it. Yeah, this thing. So yeah, so this submarine has 16,400 HP. So here's this thing. Yep, that thing. Yep, so that is the submarine. So 16,400 HP. It gets one sap gun for 6-kilometer range. Nice. 2,250 damage. Sonar goes out to 12 kilometers, 500 meter per second velocities. Okay. 6-second reloads is good for the reload. Torpedoes. So this is where this information isn't correct. The dev blog has it where there are 4 single launch torpedoes at the front, 4 single launch at the rear, with 2 turning torpedo sets like the ones on the Surkoff are on this as well. So this ship has a total of 12 torpedoes, and that is information off of the dev log specifically. So this information, the 5.1 and 5.2, is not correct. So,
Yeah, that setup doesn't make sense anyways.
yeah, so I wanted to make sure. So the number of loaders too, we're just gonna assume this is incorrect as well. So we just don't really know at the moment. So yeah, we don't really know at the moment for the loaders. We'll see. But for the torpedo tubes, it's to 12 kilometers. They do 7,800 damage with 89 knots speed. So these torpedoes are very fast and they don't do a lot of damage, but there's a lot of them, and that's just gonna be the problem. The non-homing torpedoes do 17,000 damage and 69 knot speed. So that's how it does for this one. Now for the max speed on the so for the diving capacity, it has about a 4.5 minute charge underwater. Recharge rate's 1.4, depletion rate's 1 unit. Speed on the surface is 32 knots with a 460 meter turning radius and a 5.9 second rudder shift. So this ship is pretty fast on the surface, and periscope for underwater is 16 knots, so very slow underwater. So not very fast at all. And its concealment, which is one of the biggest things, is it has a 5.2 kilometer concealment. So it is now the stealthiest submarine in the game. Previously, it was the U-4501, but now it is this ship. So I'm a little bit concerned about that concealment. That's a very strong concealment for a submarine. 5.2 kilometers is very, very strong. Also, the torpedo reload is 50 seconds, by the way. Sorry, forgot to mention that. But yeah, very strong concealment. Moving on from there is the equipment. So for the equipment, it comes with a submarine surveillance, 6 kilometers, with a torpedo defense system. So it takes 70% less torpedo damage and depth charge damage for 10 seconds. I don't know why they added this, but okay. And the engine boost is 8% as well, so it goes faster with that. The reason why I'm not too worried about this is the fact that if it's on the surface or periscope, you can just shoot the living crap out of it. So if it's not spotted, you can still try to blind shoot it with guns. But yeah, I'm still not sure why they put this on here. I guess they just wanted to give it some kind of something interesting. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about it though. But yeah, the torpedo reload and the consume is kind of what I'm really concerned about. That reload with how many torpedoes this thing has is something I'm definitely concerned with. That's a lot of DPM.
The loader situation isn't that great though.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll definitely have its DPM, but the loaders means you can't just constantly spam them unlike other submarines.
That's true. Yeah, true. And the concealment's also very good as well, so we'll have to see how it goes through the testing process. But
the
yeah.
biggest thing about it is the torpedo defense system. So it does say torpedoes, but it does protect it against depth charges as well.
It does.
So you have two main uses. You can use it when dueling other subs. Very useful for if you have like undodgeable salvo, activate it, and then you'll take quite a bit of damage. It'll still hurt, but at least it's better than being dead. Can't say the same thing for the other sub, of course. And if you happen to get like 10 depth charges thrown onto you because you're a submarine, then this will let you tank all of that as well. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the new annoying ship to fight, because 4501 you just dodge using sheer speed, but for the Orzeł, even if you place it perfectly, you can still watch a lot of your damage just being taken away because he activated torpedo defense system, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, exactly, which is going to be pretty annoying.
Oh yeah, I expect a ton of complaints from this consumable. You would think it would be good at fighting other subs, but submarine surveillance only lasts, it's only out to 6 kilometers.
And it doesn't have hydrophone either, which makes it harder to predict where the enemy submarine is.
Yeah, if he surfaces, then you will lose track of him. You better hope the enemy has, better hope your allies have shot their salvo before that, or you get the surface and risk your own hull. And at 16,000 HP, I don't know if that's a good idea half the time.
Yep. So let's move on from this ship and talk about the new European cruiser line, and we can look at the Vanadis. So the Vanadis is the new tier 10 for the tech tree for the new European cruiser line. That's going to be entering testing for the 15.8 patch. As you can see, this is the ship here. Very nice design, new hull, very pretty, very nice. Very well done. Yep. And we can take a brief look at the other ones as well. So we look at the tier 9. So we can take a look at this one. And we can look at the other ones as well, since we're already looking at them. So we can just go and look at them. So this is the tier 9. And then this is the tier 8. Just take a look at all the holes. And there's that one. Very nice. Okay. And the tier 7, and then the tier 6. So, and after that, we'll go back and look at the tier 10. Alright. So there's this one. Very nice. And the tier 6. Very nice. Yeah, all these ships do look very good, though. It does fit the theme that they're trying to go with for the European cruiser line, so I'm very glad all the ships fit the same theme. So, very nice. Alright, so let's focus on the Vanadis. So the Vanadis has a 25mm bow. Same with the rear as well. It has a little armor section here of the 40mm. The siding and deck is 30mm with the Citadel protection of 140mm. The Citadel is slightly raised, not much higher, but you do have to be careful of your Citadel though, or you will suffer. For the HP, it is 48,200 HP for the HP, and there is no torpedo protection, so don't eat torps, or you're not gonna have a fun time. For the guns, they are 9 to 152mm guns with a 4.6 second reload, and the millimeter is 152. Main battery gun range is 14.7 kilometer range. For the guns, HE shell damage is 2200 and AP is 3000 with a shell speed of 900 meters per second. For the torpedoes, which is the main gimmick of this line as its torpedoes, is going to be 20 torpedoes in total with 125 second reload with a 15 kilometer range. These torpedoes do 10,000 damage and have a speed of 86 knots, so they are very fast torpedoes. Yeah, so this line is meant to be a fast torpedo boat line. So we're going to keep going down talking about that. Airstrike range is 8 kilometers. Anti-air is pretty good short range within 4 kilometers, very strong. But outside of that, it's not as strong with it being way lower damage. 6.9 kilometer range is the anti-air. Flak is but over that, the anti-air is good within 4 kilometers. The max speed is going to be 35 knots. With a turning radius of 780 meters is very good turning radius and a good rudder shift of 10.5. Now, going off of this max speed, we're also going to take a look in here, is going to be the emergency engine room power. So this adds 30%. Overall, this is going to be the fastest cruiser in the game for tier 10. With its maximum speed of 35 knots, as well as adding the speed flag to it. It is going to be the fastest in the game with that engine boost. It's also timed as well, so you can also add the time to it. So this will be about 4 minutes max, which will be... Is it going to be about 4 minutes max? Let me double check. It should be.
It says 3 minutes base.
Yeah, let me double check. Yeah, it's 3 minutes base. Oh, sorry. It's not 3 minutes. Sorry. It's 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Sorry, my bad. I forgot. It doesn't act like normal. Yeah, it doesn't act like normal one. So, yeah. 3 minutes and 9 seconds max is for what it is.
Did you add in the superintendent?
No, I did not. So I'll factor that in real quick. Yeah, I'm just gonna add that in real quick. So it will go to roughly 3 minutes and 23 seconds is what's gonna be. Yeah, 3 minutes and 23 seconds overall is what's gonna be roughly around. So that's a very long-lasting engine boost you can have on or turn it off or turn it back on. So it'll be very, very fast. It's going to be the fastest cruiser in the game. So it's meant to be able to go into a flank, launch a lot of your torpedoes, and keep a good concealment out there. So it does have 11.7 kilometer base concealment, which you can build into, which its concealment goes down to 9 something concealment, like 9.5 or 9.4, which is very strong as well for what its gimmick is. But yeah, overall, it's definitely very maneuverable. I can see it being good in randoms. For ranked, I don't think it's going to do as well due to the fact that a lot of the times with those in ranked, you're dealing with more brawlers or ships that already have hydro, and in clan battles, I don't see this ship seeing that much use either, due to not having that much utility for being able to fight off other cruisers besides torpedoes. So we'll have to see how it does overall, because it doesn't have any smoke either.
I could see a few uses in clan battles. Very niche, but it could have a few uses. To go over the ship, though, as you said, it's kind of like a torpedo boat, but kind of like a more high-skill torpedo boat. Your guns are okay, but they're kind of like Yodo levels of guns. But the torpedoes, they don't hit very hard, but you can throw them out without too much issues. The speed lets you hit more consistently than other ships. Defense, it's pretty good. The HP is pretty nice. It's what sets it apart from Sevilla and the other light cruisers. The speed, of course, is a huge asset. You keep in mind that you only have about 3 minutes total, unlike, say, the French cruisers, which has almost 3 minutes per use. So you have to be very tactical in when you use your speed boost. Otherwise, if you run out, like, say, early mid-game, then you're essentially just a floating brick. You do at least get good turning radius and rudder shift time, but what sets Vanadis apart and the line apart is really just that amazing speed boost. You don't get much of it, so make sure you use it at the right time. Concealment goes down to 9.5, which is great. It's almost destroyer levels, but not quite. So as for, I can see people liking the ship. Like, she looks pretty comfortable to play. The issue is a lot of her firepower is in the torpedoes, and she doesn't have much firepower in general. So after the first initial wave of people buying the ship, I don't think you'll see her too often. It just suffers the same problem as Yodo. Like, yeah, you have torbs, you have some guns, but you don't have any utility. And Yodo already gets ragged on for being considered one of the worst ships in the game. Vanadis in competitive, though, I could see a few uses, just not very good uses. So because of your speed boost, you can actually speed to a flank and be there with the destroyers for the initial engagement. You'll use up a lot of your speed boost to do so, but depending on your tactics, this could be well worth it, since you're essentially starting to fight with a cruiser support at the very start. And that can almost guarantee you getting the cap.
That is
I don't
true.
think it's I think it's a super niche tactic. You might see it in King of the Seas, and that's it. But at least it is something that Vanadis can do that other cruisers that no other cruiser can do, with exception of like Colbert.
So moving on, we have the final ship we're talking about today, which is going to be the Aragón. So this is the new Tier 9 Spanish cruiser. We'll take a look at it real quick. So this is the Aragón. Very nice. So there's a total of 6 guns on it.
Six British guns, not to mention.
Yep, so for the armor, it has a 25mm bow with a 50mm armored little section right there. Same with the rear as well. It has a citadel protection of 40mm, deck armor of 27. The citadel is raised. Very raised. So, yeah, you definitely want to be careful. Yeah, you definitely want to be careful or take a lot of damage. So, for the HP, you have 48,300 HP with a 16% torpedo protection. For the guns, you get 6 305mm guns with a 12-second reload. And it has a modified shell to talk about in a moment, but it has 4,300 damage for the HE with a 27% fire chance, 51mm of pen with AP shells beating 8,200 damage. For the modified shells, it makes it where you make your shell dispersion 25% more accurate while giving you 40% more pens, but it does increase your reload by roughly over double. Yeah, so over double essentially. So it's gonna go from like 12 seconds to like 27-ish, give or take, right around there, or 30.
Sounds about right.
So it's gonna turn its guns from being able to pen some things to be able to pen a lot of things. The secondaries are not that impressive, so don't really worry about those. In-gun range is 18.6 kilometers. Going up from that, you have 2 sets of torpedoes with 8 kilometer range, so good if you're doing a drive-by, but other than that, The airstrike to 7-kilometer range, which is standard for tier 9 cruiser. Anti-air defense is 5.2. It's the Spanish anti-air, so not like close range 3.5, and then inside of that it's going to be good, but outside of it's going to be so don't really worry about that. Maneuverability is going to be good for a tier 9 cruiser. 36 knots is actually pretty nice. Turning radius is 840 meters, which is okay for a tier 9 cruiser as well. And the rudder shift is 11.3, which is good for the ship of this size as well. So very nice maneuverability. The detectability is 14.7, which is pretty nice for a tier 9 cruiser when you build into it all the way. It goes down to about maybe like 12 or 11-ish.
11.9 exactly.
11.9-ish, yeah. So it's not the, never mind, it's not the best consume. It's about average for like what this cruiser is meant to be. The consumables on this ship, you have a normal damage control party. Heal is pretty normal, nothing too special. It gets an auxiliary torpedo weaponry coordination on it. It gets a spotter plane or a fighter and a 8% engine boost. Overall, like the way this playstyle is, I was trying to figure out a way to put this earlier. It's meant to be more like mid to long range. You're supposed to slap things with AP at distance and HE. You're not meant to get close. I was trying to figure out a ship that had the similar playstyle, and all I could think of is like Stalingrad for some reason.
Siegfried.
Yeah, Siegfried. Yeah, Siegfried is a good example. Yeah, Siegfried is a very good example of a similar play style, because you can't get close to Siegfried and you can't do the same thing with this. The ship isn't meant to get close; it's meant to stay further away. If this thing gets too close to anything, it's not going to have a good time.
Siegfried's okay with getting close. You just don't really want to. There's no advantage. So Aragón, the problem with the Aragón is just that it's cursed with a Spanish hull, and that protection does not look good. So you really want to stay far away in the Aragón. Fortunately, your guns are well suited for that. It's just that mostly well suited. You only top out 18.6 kilometers, which is okay-ish, but you have spotter plane offset it. But sometimes you always wish you had more with that citadel protection. It's the best I could think of would be kind of like a Spanish hull, like the Andalusia or the Castilla, and then you put sorta battleship guns on top of it. That's the best way I can describe Aragón's intended playstyle. The DPM the salvo is just not really great. You only get 6 guns, so you're kind of encouraged to use that funny button and punish someone's broadside. But if you mess up, that is battleship levels of reload. And considering Aragón doesn't have the greatest DPM in the first place, that will certainly hurt a lot. So yeah, I could see Aragón being kind of like a painful ship to play, just because if your guns misbehave even once, you're gonna feel it. And if your angling is not correct, or if the enemy battleship just says screw your armor, then you're also gonna feel that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be a fun ship to, like, if they get one good salvo onto you, you're just going to be feeling it. It's not going to be a good time at all.
Yeah, this is of course on conjecture and experience playing at Andalusia. Even if your angling is even off, or you just get unlucky, then you just take half your HP is gone. So I could see the same thing happening with Aragón with that citadel protection. There could be changes, or it may not be. We'll have to see.
I also feel like in slot 3, they may add Hydro.
Yeah, Hydro.
I feel like they're gonna add Hydro here. If they add this, they're gonna have the other one. So I feel like Hydro is gonna be here for the Aragón.
Yeah, that could be a possibility too. Not having Hydro is actually a big downside for most cruisers.
Yeah, for sure. Anywho, that's gonna be all the test ships. So make sure you guys write in the comments of what ships you guys are most interested in from seeing in today's video. So make sure you guys go and check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.